Welcome back to the Smugsy Show. I'm Smugsy, your host. Every Wednesday we meet here to talk about important things and important people. Except last Wednesday, the show didn't go on, but the earth-shattering invasion of Ukraine by Russia took place. And this week's show is called The Enemy of the Truth is the Enemy of the People. And I'll share with you a personal trans experience I had. But first, the Smugsy Show is presented to you by Smugsy, sleek and elegant joint ciggies made with organic cannabis rolled in all-natural, locally sourced paper. Look for Smugsies in the pretty indigo and marigold packs. Well, it's been 7 days since Vladimir Putin unleashed his hounds, his brainwashed hounds, on the new hero of the free world and sexiest man alive at the moment, at least we hope, Volodymyr Zelenskyy. The enemy of the truth is the enemy of the people, and as you can imagine, enemy number one is Vladimir Putin. And Vladimir Putin's big lie, the big lie, it's a term coined by Hitler, Adolf Hitler, 1925, Mein Kampf. The big lie refers to sort of psychological brainwashing by a evil dictator, and it involves the repetition of an untruth that's so audacious that the average schmuck thinks it can't possibly be a lie, right? Average people who fib on a daily basis think no one could ever lie about that. And then you throw in all this merch, right? Flags, hats, t-shirts, boots, whistles, dogs. And before you know it, you turn widespread anti-Semitism into a murder machine. That's what Hitler did, using the big lie that it was the Jews who were trying to take over the world and kill the Germans. So this big lie is a method that's being employed by Vladimir Putin in Ukraine, and the big lie that he has told his countrymen and soldiers through state-sponsored propaganda and brainwashing is that this special military operation, that's what he calls the invasion, a special military operation, oh, isn't that special, is to liberate the Ukrainian people from, get this, the Nazis, which of course is an insult to the memory of the Holocaust. And it's especially galling because the leader of Ukraine, in case you haven't heard, is Jewish. And the Ukrainian people aren't Nazis. The leader of the Ukrainian people is now in the history book of heroes. Forever, he's a legend. Zelenskyy, okay? A former comic. He's the Ted Lasso of Ukraine. He was a comic who had a sitcom playing a teacher who became president and then ran for president and is president. And he was believed to be, David and Goliath. He thought the world expected Russia to march in and for him to fold like a cheap suit, but instead he has exhibited what everyone is longing to drink in, and that is courage and charm and wit. And that's the reason why he's the sexiest man dead or alive in his line. Really a line for the ages, when the Americans offered to evacuate him and his family early on in the war. Zelenskyy said, quote, "I need ammunition, not a ride." Well, Donald Trump is America's Putin, and he's enemy number 2 of the truth, and therefore, in my view, enemy number 2 of the people. And of course, Donald Trump, in his one-term presidency, wanted to leave NATO. Donald Trump, whose own Republican-led special Senate committee who concluded that Vladimir Putin had interfered with the election, chose to believe Putin instead. Well, of course, the big lie that Donald Trump continues to perpetuate, and that what caused the attempt to overthrow the government on January 6th is that the election was stolen. And he's told his followers that if they fight, right, he drew them to the Capitol on January 6th, in that speech talked about the stolen election and told them they should fight, and they crossed the street and broke into the Capitol, and we know what happened, right? The QAnon shaman, yeah, he's behind bars. And the Russian troops and countrymen who've been told that they'll be liberators, treated like World War II heroes when they liberate the Ukrainians, well, they're piling up in the morgues in Belarus. Okay, they ran out of gas. They don't have enough food. And they're now facing the unfortunate reality of the consequences of the big lie. Both Trump and Putin are the antithesis of truth, justice, and democracy. And you think about, like, Team Russia, okay? You got Russia, North Korea. Okay, Kim Jong-un, another global baby idiot who this week needed attention, so shot off a missile, who starves his people. Let's see, who else is on that team? Syria, Bashar al-Assad. He's the one who, if you recall, like, sprayed poisonous gas on his own people. Iran. That's a good one. And this new Belarus, you've heard of Alexander Lukashenko. He's the, like, Belarus in, like, 1994 announced that it was going to be this free democracy. He got elected, and he's done everything to remain in power, and he's a complete puppet of Putin. So that's that team. Oh, and maybe China. China, who just last week published that they had a China and Russia celebrated a no-limits relationship, like just last week before the war. But China now claims that for its 6,000 Chinese citizens who are basically trapped in Ukraine, they're like, well, we didn't know about the invasion. You didn't know, but you apparently have this wonderful relationship? Or they knew and just didn't tell their citizens? So then the Chinese embassy first told the Chinese people stuck in Ukraine, in Kyiv and other cities, well, just, wave your Chinese colors, your flag outside, and that way, the authorities will know that you're with us and they'll spare you. Well, unfortunately, they didn't realize that the state propaganda suggested that the Chinese were allied with Russia, and so the Ukrainians hate, then the Chinese told their people, no, pull in your flags, make sure nobody knows you're Chinese. And first they said, well, we'll try to arrange a plane to get you out of there, and then they just said, look, you're just going to have to figure it out and take the train. So, you got these guys, right? These monsters, these bad guys, who are perpetuating the big lie. But I think the biggest lie is that that Putin is so smart. Okay, that he's smart and savvy. They say the same thing about Trump. Well, yeah, he might be about, boy, he's smart. When they were interviewing these America First white supremacists at the CPAC convention satellite show that Marjorie Taylor Greene attended, where they were cheering Putin, Putin, Putin. The neo-Nazis in America that associate and follow Donald Trump, they say that the reason why they just can't help but love Putin is because he's so smart. Is he? I mean, we know how this story ends. Look at Saddam Hussein, right? They found him in a dirt ditch before his demise. Look at Osama bin Laden. I don't think he's very smart. He's thought he was going to just march into Kyiv, throw out Zelenskyy, and instead he's met his match. He's being humiliated, shamed. His troops are dying, unfortunately, in Belarus, piling up, and the Ukrainian people are showing the world what it means to lead and what it means to fight for freedom. And we're energized and feeling together. And so the big lie is that Putin and Trump are smart. And the realization that I had when I heard that the Ukrainian government was ordering that no man of in Ukraine can leave between the ages of 18 and 60. They have to stay and fight. So if you're a woman or a child, you can leave. If you're a man, you have to stay and fight. And when you get to the border, you flash your badge and one way or the other. And it occurred to me, in this great country of ours, thankfully, we still have the freedoms for which we sometimes take for granted, especially when we talk about microaggressions and identity this and identity that for a moment I could identify as a man because I want to fight for democracy. And if I was in Ukraine, I might trans. And I went to the store to get a uniform, but they didn't have it. So I've decided on the show I'm going to trans. I'm going to break it. I'm basically breaking up with Barstool. I don't know if it's going to be forever, but we haven't been the same, and I want to fight. So going forward, I'm Smugsy Girl, identifying as the warrior queen. So until next week, this is Smugsy signing off. I hope you'll subscribe to the show, leave a comment, follow me on Twitter at Smugsy Girl, and take care.